not 2020, 2021. Okay. All right, so we are going to talk about writing a research proposal. What we have done so far is we have talked about the research process, in which we talked about research problem. Research problem is the original problem that you start your research with. It's any issue that you have seen in the literature, or you have or you have observed it around yourself. Okay, Imran, I got it. And then we've got research questions on the basis of the research problem and the literature review. So we read about, sorry, we read about our topic of interest, and we see what other work has been done in that area. We make a report of it in our literature review, and on the basis of all of that, we form our research questions. The research question is the question that will guide your whole study. So your whole study is dependent on that research question, okay? And then you will decide your method, whether you're going to do a non-empirical research or an empirical research. A non-empirical research will be that in which you're applying a theory to a text, whereas a non-empirical one an empirical one will be that in which you are collecting data. So you're collecting people's perceptions, you're observing classrooms, and you are writing your observation notes. So those kind of things will be counted in the empirical research. You'll decide which method you will use for data collection, how many books, short stories, or how many people will you interview, all right? And then you will decide your analysis and conduct your analysis. So if it's textual analysis, you will see the elements of your chosen theory in the work that you have chosen. If it's thematic analysis, then you will code your data, you will name your data, and then you will find out themes and patterns in it, and you will write that like we did in our qualitative data analysis class. And then you will write your report. Writing a report means writing your article or your thesis or whatever it is that you are going to write. We talked about qualitative data analysis in the last class. We talked about the process of coding. Whenever you have qualitative data, it's going to be a lot of data. It's going to be rich data. So what you're supposed to do with it is you are supposed to code it. Coding is like giving headings to your data. So you have a transcript in front of you or a text in front of you, and whatever the topic of conversation is, you give that title to your data. Once you have given those titles to all of your data, you arrange your data according to those titles. Once you arrange them according to those titles, which we call codes, you will then be able to see if there are any themes or patterns that you can discuss in your findings. Those themes or patterns are your analysis. They are your main arguments in response to your research question. So your research question needs to be answered by your data, okay? Is that clear? If we have any quick questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, we'll do that, do a fuller recap in the revision class on 30th. So if you have any quick questions, you can ask them now. If you have a more detailed questions, you can bring them to the revision class, okay? Is it okay to move on to research proposal? You're presenting on what, Temur? Which topic?
Qualitative data analysis.
Okay, I'll open your presentation. All right, so Temur is going to recap qualitative data analysis for us. I am trying to click on something else.
Yes, ma'am. May I
Okay,
start?
yes, please.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Uh, Today, my presentation topic is qualitative data analysis, and this is Themurali. I am presenting the presentation now. This is the outline, uh, the brief outline about resources or the types of qualitative data. Qualitative researcher is like librarian, qualitative data analysis, ways used in qualitative data analysis, thematic analysis, a kind of QDA, and steps of thematic analysis, and how we analyze data and traditional methods. Ma'am, next slide. In resources or types of qualitative data, we have interview transcripts, documents, or survey responses, images or visuals, and videos also. And these are all come in the resources of qualitative data or types of qualitative data. Next slide. In this, we qualitative researcher is like a librarian. We like librarian do he arrange all data in a system. Okay, like that qualitative research is like a librarian. He we must build how to arrange. We must know that are familiar with how to arrange the system of documents to easily locate our filed data that we file uh, in auto system. Next element. Now, qualitative data analysis, what it is? It is a process by which a researcher analyze a data. For that, he must has to describe, portray, or summarize, interpret, discover new patterns. It is a way to bring all data together and write about it. Next slide, ma'am. Okay, now the ways which are used in the qualitative data analysis. It is most important for a researcher to know his data. He must read about it or transcribe it again and again to be familiarized with data. We use memos. Memos are what? Memos are notes, comments, reminders to ourselves for our data. And number second is the codes. These are like titles or names, topics to our data according to according to context, or is like book index, which helps us to find things or helps us to find common themes across interview. Concept maps, number third thing, or flowcharts. These are graphic representation of links between our codes and concepts. This is ways used in QDA. Next slide. This is thematic analysis, kind of QDA, qualitative data analysis, and steps of thematic analysis. Thematic analysis is like it takes a body of data according to our similarities, like themes. Okay, through these themes, we present the clear picture of data. Thematic analysis is like we collect data according to themes, and through these themes, we show the clear and crystal picture of data. And according to these steps, we analyze any thing, any data. And this model is gained by Brown and Clark. And number one phase, we used to familiarize with data by reading it again and again, by repeatedly reading it. Number second, we must generate initial codes. And number third, we search for the themes. And now the fourth step is the review the themes which are emerged now. Number fifth one is defining and naming those themes which are emerged from reviewing the themes. Number six is to produce our data according to those themes which are presented, defined, or named by uh, named data. Number, ma'am, next slide. How we analyze data. In this, we use coding. For example, we give title, or we give topics or names to our data which is given to us, which we analyze. Okay, for that we must give code, means name to that data. Now, and after coding, we used to find. In finding, we report or present data as it is. And after finding, we have discussion. In discussion, we have to analyze or interpret data, which is presented as it is. We now have to analyze or interpret data. Next slide, ma'am. These are traditional methods we often use. Highlighter, cut, copy, and paste. In highlighter, um, we face problems. Okay, problems with highlighters. If we have many codes, what to do for using only, means less uh, less colors. Okay, and problem with cut, copy, and paste. These are messy and sticky. Okay, for the solution of those problems, we mostly use Word, because it is useful to highlight or comment over comment. It have a comment or highlight function. It can cut and paste without scissor and glue. Also can search for word and phrase. Still, a word have problems. It can't have two or more colors, or it can't search easily for codes in context. This is my presentation about qualitative data analysis. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Temur. That was a detailed presentation. I hope that everybody is now clear about qualitative data analysis, and you have got a good recap, a good summary of qualitative data analysis with you. That's great. Let's start with writing a research proposal. Now, what is a proposal? What's your understanding of a research proposal? What do you think a research proposal is? Do you have any idea what a research proposal is? A plan for a whole research? Yes, Faiza, that's exactly what it is. It's a plan that you present. Imran, you have written it to me only, not to everybody else. It's a plan for your whole research. It defines the purpose of your research, right? Yes, that's right, Atazaz. Okay, so a research proposal is a plan or an application or a request intended to convince the reader that you have a worthwhile research project and that you have the competence and a work plan to complete it. Okay. So when you go to your supervisors, when you're assigned your supervisors, you tell them about your research proposal. You give them your research proposal. What it helps your supervisors ascertain is that whether you are competent enough to do this research and if you have the appropriate plan. So they are able to see your plan for your research and they are able to judge your competence through that research proposal. All right. So you're supposed to make a good research proposal because that's the first impression that you're going to create on your readers. Okay. We don't include the research proposal in our thesis. It's not a part of our thesis. It's before thesis. Okay. So a research proposal is a plan or an application. Sometimes you're applying, expert researchers are applying for projects, so they send their proposal for the project as an application or a request, okay? In that case also, the research proposal needs to convince the readers, the reviewing committee there, that they have a good plan and they have the competence to achieve that plan, okay? So what do we include in a research proposal? Obviously, as I'm saying, it's a plan, so you don't need to collect your data or analyze your data at this stage. You're not actually going to do the research. You are just going to show the reader that this is the research I'm planning on doing, okay? So it's not the actual research. You're not going to do your findings and your analysis or your data collection. You're just going to give introduction, literature review, and methods. These are the three main components of your research proposal. Your introduction, in which you will give your background, the rationale of your study, and your research questions. Okay. What comes under background? Say, for example, if you're doing a study on readers' perceptions of um, of existentialism in Waiting for Godot. Let's take that as an example. Okay. So if you're doing a study on undergraduate students' perceptions of existentialism in Waiting for Godot, then you are going to give the background about how you came to be interested in this topic. Okay. So I became interested in this topic when I read Waiting for Godot in part 3, and I felt that it affected my perceptions. And I noticed that with my classmates as well. That is how I became interested in this topic. Okay. Rationale is like justification. Why do you think you should do research on this topic? Why is this important? You will describe that this existentialism has been studied, is an important field of study. It has been studied from various angles, and Waiting for Godot is written from an existentialist perspective. I feel that undergraduate Pakistani students' perceptions in this relation are not studied before, and this is something that I want to uh, pursue in this study. Then you will give your research questions. The research question could be as simple as, what are the undergraduate students' perceptions of existentialism in Waiting for Godot? Then you will do a literature review, a study of previous research on chosen areas. So existentialism in Waiting for Godot, what have people done about it? Students' perceptions in relation to Waiting for Godot, what have people done about it? Students' perceptions regarding existentialism in a specific work, are there studies on that? You will write that. So in 2 to 3 paragraphs, you will briefly write your literature review. This topic is going to be your assignment for this subject, so please do listen carefully, and if you have any questions, do ask. Methods used, then you're going to use, you are going to say that you are going to use empirical study, you're going to do a qualitative data collection through semi-structured interviews. You will take interviews from 10 participants. How will you select those participants and how will you analyze your data? You will describe that, okay? So you're just giving a plan of what you intend to do. You're not going to do the actual research. You're just going to give the plan of your research. Another thing that you could include that's optional is limitations of the study. What are the limitations of your study? You're doing it only on 10 participants. You're doing it only on one play. You're not able to do it in more than one universities. These are sort of your limitations, the kind of boundaries of your research. Okay. Then you give your references, all the references that you've mentioned in the text. Obviously, you will have given references in your literature review and your methodology. So you have to give complete references of those in um, the reference list. Okay. We haven't had a class on referencing, have we? We need to do that as well. Okay, we will do that. All right, so how do you write an introduction in your research proposal? This is an introduction to the topic that you have selected. Don't be too general. Don't start like this world is a global village, literature is the mirror of life. I have actually seen research proposals start with that. Start directly about your topic. So it should be this study is about, this research is about. Okay, so start directly about your topic. You can give a little bit of background of the topic, like I explained regarding existentialism. Also include a statement about why you selected this topic. This will be your rationale or justification. And research questions should be given as part of the introduction, can be in the same paragraph or separately with a heading. That's okay. All right. So is writing an introduction clear? Do you think that if you are asked to write an introduction of your research proposal, you will be able to do that? Or do I need to repeat anything? Yes or no? Okay. Yes, sure. All right. So say for example, if you're doing a study on let's choose another topic on teaching literature in large classes. Okay, if you're doing a study on teaching literature in large classes, then the introduction of your topic, you will say that this study is about teaching literature in large classes. And then you can give a little bit of background, like you could say that large classes are very common in Pakistani context. We usually have a group of more than 100 in each class, and this could count as your background. Okay, we have students of mixed abilities, and there are a lot of issues related to large classes. Then you would say a statement about why you selected this topic. I have myself studied in a large class, and I feel that it's very important to uh, for the teachers to have the appropriate skills to be teaching in large classes. That is why I want to see if they are actually ready to teach in large classes. This could be your justification, which we are calling the rationale. Rationale is like why you selected this topic. Why exactly do you think this topic is researchable or important to be researched on? And then you will give your research questions. Your research questions could be, what are the challenges that teachers face while teaching literature in large classes? Okay, does that make sense? I can give one more example. If you want, I can think of one more. Samra, how about you? Is that okay? You want another example? Sitara? Okay, that's great. All right, so this is how you write an introduction. Can we give examples in the intro according to a topic, like choose topic by giving justification about this lecture? Yes, you could give an example. That's possible, but we try to keep our research proposals brief. Okay, so our research proposals need to be very brief. I'll give one more example because Temur has asked for it. Let me think of one. Say, for example, if you're saying if you're doing a non-empirical study on feminism in a doll's house, then your introduction will include a background of feminism. So what is feminism? Why is it important? Why is it important to read feminism in literary works? And then why exactly are you doing it in a doll's house? So you will say something like, there are many elements in Ibsen's work of feminism, and I feel that reading it from Virginia Woolf's model would bring out new insights and new critical insights into the work. And then you will give your research question. Okay, so you will include a background of your topic, and then you will give a justification of why you're choosing this topic, and then you will give your research questions. So that's what comes under introduction. Let's move on. Writing a literature review. the basic idea is to read articles on your research topic and write about them to show that you're aware of what research has been already done on this topic. Okay. Um, so basically, we don't exist in a vacuum, right? We have a lot of connections with other people. The same is the thing in research. We cannot do our study in a vacuum. Our study is connected to a lot of other studies that have been done on this topic. So we need to acknowledge that these other research studies have been done on this topic, and I am aware of them. So in your proposal, you're showing that you have actually read about research on this topic, and you're able to cite them. Um, so what you would do to to give to show that you are aware, you would cite, okay, so as to keep the primary focus on the literature pertinent to your research problem. You would cite from them, you would give references, and you would quote from them, or you would paraphrase their ideas. Okay. And the other thing that you need to do is you need to connect the literature to your own area of research and investigation. So, how does your work draw upon or depart from or add a new perspective to what has been said in the literature? So, you're not just saying this person did this person did this person did this, and that's it. But you're saying these people have done this, now I am going to do this. Okay. So, you're citing from other people. You're saying that this research has been already done by these other people. And then you're also saying that this is how their research connects to my research. So if they have all done research on this topic, why does it need to be done again by you? What is the new thing that you're adding to it? What is the gap that you have identified? So you need to connect the literature with your own research. Does that make sense? Or does that need to be repeated? How about others? Literature review clear to everybody? At this, it's very uncommon that nobody has ever done research on your topic. Okay. It's possible that they might not have done the exact aspect that you have done. Say, for example, if you have selected a very new novel and nobody has done research on that yet, but people might have done research on the similar aspect in other novels. People might have done research on other novels by the same writer. So you would widen your scope. If you can't find exactly about that topic, you would widen your horizon a little bit. Okay. Does that make sense, Ertazaz?
Mm, Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Yes, Ertazaz.
Ma'am, if I'm researching on one particular book, so what I have need to talk about the other books of the same writer, because I am not concerned with other books of the writer. I am concerned with only the one book. I am researching about that book, relating that book's aspect with any theory or with any other topic. So why I go to his other books?
Say, for example, if you're doing research on Ministry of Utmost Happiness and you're trying to look at post-colonialist aspects in Ministry of Utmost Happiness. Now, when you're trying to search that out, it'll be very difficult because Ministry of Utmost Happiness is a recent work. Now, since it's a novel by Arundhati Roy, and Arundhati Roy has used similar elements in God of Small Things, you could find out studies related to God of Small Things and quote them in your literature, and then point out the gap that even though work has been done on God of Small Things, similar elements are present in Ministry of Utmost Happiness, but they have not been researched. Okay. So you're trying to situate your research in a certain context. Like I said before, you cannot keep it alone. You cannot keep your research alone. So you cannot say you have to write the literature review, right? So you have to find some connections with existing research. If the two works of the author are not connected, then you find other works that are similar to your work. Okay. So if you feel that Arundhati Roy's Ministry of Utmost Happiness is not similar in any way in post-colonial aspects to God of Small Things, then there might be other works like Red Birds by Mohammad Hanif might be relevant to Ministry of Utmost Happiness, or there might be other works on transgenders in literature, more contemporary works on transgenders in literature, which you could relate to. Okay, so you have to find out some relevant aspect. If it's not the author's other works, then what is it? What is the connection? What are the connections that you can find with any other works? Okay, does that make sense, Atisat? Okay, Usman, can you speak? Is it possible for you to speak? Because I'm not sure I understand your question. No, you can, Nimra, you can give the reason together for everything.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, I want to know that when we are researching, we try to develop something new or discover something new or what we call new knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have references for them. How then we can justify our claims? There, you said that we have, it's necessary to reference, but
What you don't
when
have
we
reference
try
for?
when we try to claim something on our own, we don't have references for them. Then how then we justify these things?
Okay. See, what we do is we read our literature first, right? When we are done reading with our literature, we write about that, and then we have our data, right? So if you're doing research on people's perceptions related to transgenders in Ministry of Utmost Happiness, then you read about transgenders in literature, representation of transgender in literature in the literature review, and then you collect people's perceptions, you analyze them, and then you write your findings and your discussion. In your discussion, any claim that you make will be based on your data and your literature review. Okay, any claims, any new claims that you make will be supported by your data. You're not going to make them, we're not doing philosophical research. So it's not like you thought of it and you wrote it. It's like you came up with that on the basis of what you read and what your participants said, and then you made an argument. So if you're saying that transgenders are misrepresented in the literature and that has created a, a, a distorted vision in the minds of the readers, then that is based on your data and your literature review. You're not saying it without any reference, without any support. Okay, does that make sense, Usman? Kashyap is saying, should we focus on references? Yes, we will focus on references, definitely. Okay. Yes, Faiza, we read abstracts, but we do also read full articles. Okay, so it's not always that you just read the abstracts. If you find something important, then you read the whole article as well. Okay, just abstracts is not enough sometimes. But yes, that's the general idea. You read the article, you combine them, and then you write about them. Okay, so hopefully literature review is a bit clear to everybody. Let's move on to methodology. Writing a proposed methodology. Methodology is different for empirical and non-empirical studies, okay? I hope that everybody is clear about that by now, that empirical and non-empirical studies are different in their methodology. Now, what is the purpose of writing a methodology in your research plan is to express what you plan to do and provide a reason or justification for it, okay? So you're supposed to provide a reason of why you're doing this methodology, why you're choosing this instrument, why 10 participants, how are you going to select them, why you're going to select them like that. So everything, every decision that you are writing about in your methodology, you need to give a reason for that, a justification for that, okay? For non-empirical studies, you will give basic introduction to textual analysis, okay? And then discuss the theoretical framework you will be using. So if you're writing a non-empirical study, if your study is about trauma theory in Mohsen Hamid's Reluctant Fundamentalist, for example, then you will give a basic introduction to textual analysis. What is textual analysis? What is a non-empirical study? Why are you doing a non-empirical study? And you will come to trauma theory. What is trauma theory? Whose model are you using? What are the elements of trauma theory? You will describe all of that in your methodology. Another example could be if you are doing feminism in a doll's house, then you are going to describe what is textual analysis. And then you're going to say your chosen framework is Beauvoir's model of feminism. And what are the elements of that? And you're going to describe that, okay? So for non-empirical studies, you will give basic introduction to textual analysis, and then you will discuss the theoretical framework that you're going to use. On the other hand, if you're using empirical research, then you will describe tools for data collection, such as interviews, questionnaires, etc. You will also describe your sampling. So who will be your participants, how many, how will you select them? You will explain all of those decisions. And then you would talk about your data analysis techniques. How will you analyze the data? Example, you could say that I'm going to do thematic analysis using Braun and Clark 2006. So if you give your methodology, there is still some room to change later on. So if you have written 10 participants will be interviewed and you end up doing 7, that's okay. So it's still a plan. So it's okay if things don't go exactly to plan and you change later on. It's not a very hard and fast document most of the time, especially at this level. So if your supervisor asks you to change a certain thing in your thesis, that's completely all right, okay? Is the methodology part clear? Do we need to repeat it? Are there any questions? Go through the slide again, see if you follow everything and if there's anything that needs to be clarified. Okay, Imran is asking for repetition of theoretical framework. Theoretical framework is the theory that you're going to choose in a non-empirical research, okay? So for example, I'll explain that. Next question. For example, if I am reading post-colonialism in The God of Small Things, okay, then my methodology will include introduction of textual analysis. So I will say I'm doing a non-empirical study. I'm going to do a textual analysis, which means that I'll be looking at the text from the lens of the theory. So just a few sentences, okay? Then I'll come to my theory, post-colonialism. I'll give an introduction to that, and I will define what post-colonialism is, how it has been used, and then I'm going to say I'm using Bhabha's model of post-colonialism. I'll describe what Bhabha says about post-colonialism, and then I'll give its elements, hybridity and mimicry, for example, okay? So these are the 2 elements that I'm going to describe. This is what I will include in my theoretical framework. Does that make sense, Imran? All right. Samra is asking, are we supposed to write just the tool or whole info about the tool like types, etc.? You're not defining the tools here. You're saying why you are using this tool. Okay. So what you're going to say is you're going to say, I'm using semi-structured interviews in my research because semi-structured interviews give me room to be flexible. Okay. You're not going to define what semi-structured interviews are. You're going to show your awareness of semi-structured interviews by saying why they are suitable for your research. So only what is necessary for your research needs to be given with reasons of why you think that's important. Does that make sense, Samra? All right. Any other questions? Is methodology clear to everybody? Farzana, how about you? Is that okay? Is it clear? Manu, Jahangir? The purpose is to express what you plan to do and provide a reason or justification for it. This point, Taimur? What I'm saying is all the decisions that you take in your methodology, you need to give reasons for that, okay? So if you're saying you're using semi-structured interviews, then you need to say why semi-structured interviews. If you're saying you're doing qualitative research, then why qualitative research? If you're doing thematic analysis, then why, okay? So you need to explain your reasons for making certain decisions in your methodology section. Is that clear, Demo? All right, let's move on. Adding a reference list. So every idea that you have used needs to be referenced. You need to add in-text citations within the body of the proposal, like Brian's 2010. Okay, so wherever you're using somebody's idea, you're going to quote them, you're going to cite them, and you're going to give their last name, comma, the year. Okay. Write a full reference at the reference list in the end of the proposal for all references used in the text. So all the references that you've used in the text, you will write a list in the end of your proposal. The list needs to be arranged alphabetically. Whatever referencing convention you use, whether you're using APA or MLA, most of you are familiar a little bit with APA, so we'll stick with APA. Sometimes in literature, in arts and humanities, in different universities, they use MLA as well. APA stands for American Psychology Association. MLA stands for Modern Languages Association. Okay, but the short forms don't matter. It's just that these are two different ways of referencing. There are many other ways as well. So whichever way you're going to use, you're going to try and stay consistent with that. Okay. In the recap class, I'm going to talk about APA referencing so that you have some idea of how to reference in the proposals as well as in the thesis. Okay. So we will talk about referencing in more detail about APA referencing in our last class as well. Okay, so it's not just when you're quoting exact words of somebody, but even when you're quoting their ideas, you have to reference them. Whenever you cite somebody's idea, you need to reference them. Okay. Those of you who are from BS have done APA referencing, that's great. But if you've not done it, then we will revise it. We will talk about it in our last class. Any questions about referencing at this stage? Imran, could you put your question in the chat to everyone, please? What Imran is asking is, when do we need to add page numbers? We add page numbers when we are quoting exact words of somebody. If you're quoting their words directly, then you will add page numbers. If you're not quoting their words, then you need to just give author and year. Okay. So quoting somebody's exact words, you would put it in quotation marks and you would give a reference. Say, for example, if you're saying feminism is defined by presence, by the absence of social and financial rights of women, is an important discussion in literary theory. Example, Wolf, 1932. I don't remember the year, I'm just making it up. Beauvoir, 1953. Okay. So what I'm saying is, I'm giving an idea that other people have also talked about. So I'm saying that absence of social and financial rights of women is an important discussion in literary theory, like Woolf and Beauvoir have discussed. So I'm just given the years of and the last names of the authors. But if I was saying something like it is a truth universally acknowledged that a man of wealth is in want of a wife. I don't, it's somehow appropriate. This is the first, this is roughly the first line of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, okay? So Austen, 1854, page number 1, okay? Since it's the exact words, I'm going to give the page number as well, okay? And whenever you give this, this reference in the text, it's called in-text citation, okay? Whenever we give this kind of reference in the text while you're writing your proposal or your thesis or your article, then we give this reference. This is called in-text reference. Yes, that's right. If you're not quoting, then how to write in italic or simple straight words? Simple straight words at us. We don't write in italics. Okay. A man in possession of fortune, says Imran. Okay. Does that make sense? Clear to everyone? Any other questions? Okay. Now, another thing that I wanted to show you guys, let me just open Google Scholar and then I'll show it to you. So if you go to Google Scholar, you can find the references, all right? So if I want the reference for Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen, I search for it, and here, this is the option of cite. You click on it and you get an APA reference. You can copy paste it in your reference list, okay? So if you go to this option of cite, you click on it and you get the reference. which you can copy paste. Taimur, when you give exact words of the author, you will give page number. If you're paraphrasing it, writing it on your own words, then you don't give page number in APA referencing. Okay, so whenever you want a reference for something, you can use this option and you can copy paste this reference in your reference list. Sometimes there's a bit of a mistake, some details are missing, so you need to be aware of the referencing conventions and be able to check them. But this is usually a good help, and you can just copy paste the reference from here, in the one that says APA. Okay, is that clear? Atazaz, I'm not sure what question you're asking. I can show you some samples. I'm not going to give you the samples. Okay. Little bit conscious about the ethics. Atazaz, can you open your mic and ask your question? I'm not sure what you're asking.
Ma'am, as you have told that when we are quoting exact words of the author, so we have to mention page number.
Mm-hmm.
But on which book's page number he has quoted his words, he has written his words. Don't we have to mention the book name as well? That Pride and Prejudice. Don't we have to mention that as well?
What you do is you give this reference, this small reference, right? Bryant's 2007 or Austin 1954, whatever the year is, okay? And then in your reference list, at the end, the whole reference is given, including the name. So this is a brief indicator of that whole reference. So if somebody needs to go to that book, what they will do is they will check Bryant's 2010 in your reference list.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, I'll
Thank
show
you,
you an example and hopefully that will be clearer. All right, so the proposal should have sufficient information to convince your readers that you have an important research idea, that you have a good grasp of the literature review and the major issues, and you have a sound methodology. These are the three things that you need to convince your readers of, okay? That you have an important research idea, it needs to be researched, that you understand the relevant literature review, and that you have a sound methodology that you are aware of. You have a good plan, okay? In a good research proposal, you will need to demonstrate two main things. These are the two main things that you will need to show. You will need to show that you're capable of independent critical thinking and analysis. And you will need to show that you are capable of communicating your ideas clearly. All right. So you're able to analyze what you have read, and you are able to write about it clearly. You can communicate your ideas clearly. Regardless of your methodology or your research area, all research proposals must address the following questions. What do you plan to accomplish? What is it that you are going to research about? Why is your research important? So the justification that you give in the beginning and how you connect it with existing literature. What does this study hope to achieve? So what is your research question? What is it that you think that you're going to do? How and where are you going to do it? So what exactly is your plan, your methodology? Usman, I'll answer that in a bit. The expected results in relation to knowledge and understanding in the subject. So that's also something that you could focus on. Plagiarism is something very important, all right? This is something that I take very seriously and I expect you to take very seriously as well. You need to acknowledge the authors of all publication you use to write your proposal, okay? Failure to do so is considered plagiarism. If you copy somebody's ideas, if you copy somebody's text, this is plagiarism This is a serious academic offense. You shouldn't be doing it. Okay. Do not copy word for word what an author has said. Try to analyze it. Okay. If you do quote them word to word, then you will put it in quotation marks and you will give page numbers. Plagiarism is not allowed. Okay. It's a misconception that 15% plagiarism is allowed. Plagiarism is not allowed. So it's not like if you do 15% copy paste, that's okay, and you shouldn't do more than 15%. It's that 15% similarity index is allowed. What's a similarity index? When we put your work in Turnitin, which is a software to check similarity of your text with other texts, what it does is it matches everything against its database. Okay, so it matches against everything that's there on the internet available. So everything comes up as a match. Okay, and when all of that comes up as a match, then it includes common language. It includes things like, in this essay I argue that. It includes references because other people have used those references as well. It includes direct quotations, names of articles, names of books. All those kinds of things will be included in that similarity. And that is why we allow 15% similarity. Okay. So similarity is allowed. Plagiarism is not allowed. Plagiarism is cheating. Cheating is not allowed. Okay. Yes, sure, Aisha. I'll repeat that. If we take same sentence word by word and give name of that person's book, you don't give the name of the person's book, you give the last name, the year, and the page number. Okay. So according to APA referencing, we need to give the last name, page number, and the year. Okay. So plagiarism is not allowed in any form. Plagiarism means you have cheated somebody's ideas without mentioning their name. This is a serious academic offense. You shouldn't be involved in that. And I can check plagiarism because I have access to Turnitin. I put your documents in Turnitin and it matches exactly to where you took it from. Okay. I can show you how Turnitin works. It's the difference between similarity and plagiarism. So similarity is not the same thing as plagiarism. Okay. Usman, you were asking a question earlier about different articles. So what we do is we refer to that exact article in our reference list. So if you use the page numbers from one article, you should put that article's link in your reference list. So the reader will know that this is the one that you have used. Okay. So just use any one of them and give the link for that in your reference list. So say, for example, I have got this and there I have got the similarity of these people's assignments. Okay, so I've put these assignments and this is how similar they were. Okay, so it's the similarity index that has come up. It's not possible because it's a software, it's not a person, so it's not prejudiced against you. Okay, say for example, this one. Let me stop my video so I can this got 0%. All right, so this has got 25% plagiarism, and it shows wherever it has taken anything from somewhere else, it shows it to me, okay? So I can see that 9% of the text has been taken from another paper submitted to Istanbul Aydın University, and this is coming up as a match, okay? So the highlighted text shows that this has been taken from somewhere else. If I click on it, I can actually see the source, okay? So if I see the source, I can go to the source and I can open it. All right, so if I go to this link, I will be able to open that in a new window. So I can see exactly where the text is taken from, and I can see what has been matched. All right, so if the reference list is matched, that's okay. I'm not worried about that. But if the paragraphs are matched, I do think that's cheating, and I don't appreciate that. Okay. So this is how Turnitin works. This is how I am able to see whether you have plagiarized or not. Paraphrasing ideas without reference. Yes. Yes, exactly. All right, so I hope that's clear to everybody. I'm going to show you a research proposal template. This is how you're supposed to design your assignment. So you will give your topic, name, roll number, year, email, name of supervisor, which obviously you don't have at this stage. So that's okay. Then you will give your introduction and rationale, which we have discussed. You'll give your question. You give your literature review, theoretical framework, which is more important for students in literature doing textual analysis, and then you will give methodology and references, okay? So these are the headings that you need to cover in your assignment. This is the kind of template that you're supposed to follow, and I have uploaded it on your group as well, okay? Now, hopefully you have some ideas about your tentative topics, your research problems, and your research questions. You should start writing them because these will be used in your assignment. You could give some examples in the chat. What kind of topics are you thinking about doing your research on? What are the topics that you're planning on working on? I hope that you have some areas of interest that you can think of. We did decide our research questions earlier as well. So what's going on? What are your topics? Have you thought of any topics yet? Any examples? Do you think it will be useful to discuss this in groups right now? Your tentative topics? Would you like to discuss it for 8 to 10 minutes in groups? Waiting for your response, guys. Yeah, that's difficult to determine. Okay, assignment for this subject. You're going to write a research proposal of 1,000 to 1,500 words. Total marks are 10. Deadline for submission is 20th July. Submissions will be via email to my this email ID, ghazal.sheikh@usin.edu.pk. If the assignment is plagiarized, you get a 0. Okay. Plus, there's one more thing that I want to say. Let me just write it down while you're looking at it. Okay. The subject of your email should say research assignment, and the file name should be your name and roll number. Okay, it makes it much easier for me to find it if you write it properly. Everybody's assignment is called research methodology assignment or research proposal, then I'm not able to find them. Okay, so please make sure that you send it on the appropriate email, you have the right subject, and you write it. You're only supposed to write a research proposal. Okay, so what will you include? This proposal should clearly indicate your research area, your research questions, need for this research through literature review, choice of research methods indicating sampling choices, tools to be used, and data analysis techniques proposed. The proposal should also have a reference list at the end in APA style. Okay, these are the instructions for your assignment. This is what you're supposed to do. You should clearly indicate your research area, your research questions. It should have a literature review and methodology, and it should follow the template that we have already discussed. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you into groups, and I want you to quickly recap whatever we have talked about. If you have any questions, you can ask me, and there is no specific number of references, Savera. It depends on your topic. Okay, so I want you to please go through the whole topic, recap the whole topic in groups, and then we'll come back and have a good discussion in the class as well. Everybody is supposed to speak. I'm recording it, so I would know who has spoken and who has not. And whenever I'm assigning you marks on classwork or group activities, then I will be considering this. Okay. So please go ahead. I have opened all rooms. Everybody is supposed to participate. Please join your rooms. You've got 10 minutes to discuss this. Start joining your rooms, please. You're supposed to discuss the whole topic, recap, and talk about the assignment. Farzana, Imran, you've not joined yet? Imran, join your group. Kashif, join your group, please. Sophia, join your group.
It was, ma'am.
Yeah, that's good. Hafiza says it was fantastic. All right. I wanted to show you some examples of research proposals as well before we end the class. So this is a proposal about post-colonial analysis of Muhammad Hanif's red birds. If you want, you could read the introduction, and then I'll show you the rest of it. Imran, you were actually not the only one in your group. You were not joining the group. I tried to put you in the group 7 again and again, but for some reason you were not able to join. People were having a good discussion in group 7. It was just that you weren't there. All right, read the introduction of the proposal that I've just shared with you. I'm talking to Imran, roll number 57. Yes, I was listening to you, Atazaz. I saw you, I heard you speak. All right, so he's doing this student is an MPhil student. So the proposal is a little bit more detailed than yours would be. This is obviously around 4,000 words, but yours would be much shorter, much briefer. But I think that the kind of introduction he has given is something that you could learn from. So if you look at the end, you would see he has done some signposting. In the first section, I've highlighted that bit. In the first section, I will be discussing and analyzing the post-colonial studies on Pakistani fiction. In the second section, I will be highlighting the post-colonial studies on Muhammad Hanif, and then I will be analyzing the general studies on Hanif's Red Bird with my argument for the research gap which needs to be highlighted and investigated for a significant addition of an important fiction writer of post-colonial studies. Okay. So what he has done is he has described what kind of literature is available, and he has put it into sections. And then he's saying that even though there are general studies, there are no post-colonial studies on Muhammad Hanif's Red Bird. So this is my research gap. Okay. So it's very clear from the very introduction, what exactly is he doing? How is he planning to do it? And what is there in the already existing literature? Then he gives a section on post-colonial studies on Pakistani political fiction, which he has quoted. So if you see, you can see the references here as well. Whenever he has talked about an idea, he has given a reference. Ahmed Zia 2020 states that the literary theorist critic Terry Eggleton says in his book that post-colonial, all right. So he has given an idea and he has given a reference to that idea. Okay. Like here, Gamal Ahmed 2013 argues, and Salim 2014, after analyzing the works of Surah Suleri, says this. Okay. So he has, these are the in-text citations. Okay. It'll be better if he just said Salim 2014 instead of Salim AU. It would be better if he said Ahmed 2013 instead of Gamal Ahmed 2013. Okay. So the next section is on post-colonial studies on Muhammad Hanif's work. So Muhammad Hanif has written other works like Our Lady of Alice Patti and Our Case of Exploding Mangoes. So he is giving post-colonial studies related to those works because because there are no post-colonial works on Redbirds as it is a recent work. It is okay to have many citations. Yes, of course, it's okay. The more you read, the better it is. Then he has given post-colonial general studies on Hanif's Redbirds. So Redbirds has got some reviews, some general studies, but no post-colonial studies. So he has identified that as a gap. Okay. So this is one example proposal. There's another one that I want to show you. This is from a student in linguistics. This is a BS proposal. What she has done is she has given the project title Pakistani English, a study on the perceptions. Now this could be a little bit more detailed. She could have said that a little bit with a little bit more detail here. All right. She gives the introduction and rationale in the beginning paragraph. So she says that Pakistan is the third largest country using English as a medium of instruction. English language is the language of powers. And this is the sort of background that she gives to establish the need of her research. And then she comes to the purpose of the study. She says that the purpose of the study is to describe the perceptions of the people towards Pakistani English. The emergence of a new variety of English is a recognized variety. And then this research aims to study the perceptions of people regarding this variety as well. So she is describing the aim of her study here. No, these different, it's actually the Turnitin report. So these different highlighted colors means that this is taken from different sources. Okay. Then she gives the research question, what are the perceptions of youth of University of Sindh towards Pakistani English? And then she gives her literature review. Every time that she gives a reference, that's something that is given in her reference list. Okay. So according to Baumgardner, 1995, the reaction of people towards the new elements is negative. Okay. So she has given some references, and then she has given methodology where she talks about her participants, her material, her sample. So she has talked about the sample size. There will be 20 in number, and these are the kind of questions that I'll be asking. And she says that she will be using an open-ended questionnaire as well with 10 participants. She gives the limitations, and then she gives a reference list. Okay. The reference list is not in alphabetic order here, but yours needs to be in alphabetic order. And sometimes there are mistakes here, so hopefully you will do a better job at this than what previous students have done. Okay. So these are some examples. I hope that you can learn from these, and I also hope that you will all give non-plagiarized assignments. If you have heard from other students before you would know that I do fail people on plagiarized assignments. So I don't want to do that, but please do not do that. Since I teach with a lot of preparation, hopefully you noticed, I expect you to do the same in return and participate in the discussion. Okay, so so now these are some resources for further reading about writing a research proposal that you can use. Okay, these are 2 links which you can look at. And for next class, we will discuss writing a thesis. You should go through this brief overview of thesis structure, and we will discuss it in the class in the university. Okay. All right, so that's it. We will discuss about writing a thesis in the next class. If you have any questions about the assignments, you can email me or you can ask me next week in the class. Deadline for assignment, I said, was 20th July. Okay. Deadline is 20th July, and the word limit is 1500 words, 1000 to 1500 words. Limitations is not important. You don't necessarily have to give limitations. You have to give introduction. Yeah, more than one month. The topic of the assignment is writing your research proposal, Zana. You have to give it your topic's name. The name would be your topic, whatever topic you decide to do it on. Okay. Anything else? All right, I think it's time for your next class now. Are we supposed to give references? Yes, you're definitely supposed to give references. Exam starts from 5th July. All right. if you have any more questions, you can keep them. Yes, so soon, Halima. You can keep them for the next class, okay? Let's end the class now. I am worried that it's time for your next class. Yes, 5th July is confirmed. Didn't you guys know? I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I thought everybody knew it. I cannot extend the date. 20th July is far enough. Why would you need an extension of one if it's already 1 month? What's provisional? No, nothing is provisional. 20th July is the date of submission. Oh, come on. I'm ending the class now. Thank you all. See you next week.